Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to plantfitmeg. Welcome back to the channel. I started eating a plant-based diet 7 years ago, and I have learned so much in that time. And part of this is what I want to share with you today, which is things that I stopped doing in order to really facilitate my weight loss and help me along the way on my journey to a healthy, maintainable weight loss. Some of these tips may seem a little bit weird or maybe things that you haven't really heard discussed very much, but they're things that have really helped me. And if they resonate with you and you think it makes sense, then go ahead and take it on. If it doesn't resonate, as with anything in my content, then just let it go. But I have found that this has been helpful with several of my clients as well. I do one-on-one coaching to assist people in transitioning into a more plant-based diet and or manage their weight with a plant-based diet. And I think letting go of some of these things and stopping doing some of these behaviors and replacing them with other things can be really helpful on the way on your weight loss journey. I hope you really enjoy this video. If you like it, give it a like. Check out my previous video, which was a weight loss red flags video, and check out my weight loss playlist for more content like this. With that being said, let's jump right into the things that I stopped doing to achieve lasting weight loss and what I started to do instead. I used to think that weight loss was a misery. I used to think that it had to be really difficult, really challenging, really hard, so much sacrifice, and such a massive obstacle, like a huge mountain in front of me. And when I stopped thinking about weight loss in those terms, it was really helpful to reframe and think of it in a new way. It doesn't have to be a misery. It doesn't have to be about massive restriction or about never eating your favorite foods again. I can still eat foods that I love and make progress on my weight loss journey. I can also do this in a multitude of different ways. It's a really choose your own adventure kind of situation. So if I want to eat pizza, if I want to make tacos, if I want to have something a little more decadent, I can either do that in a really healthy, sort of whole food plant-based way and come up with my own method or find a recipe to do that, or I can choose to occasionally have a restaurant meal, have a meal out, go out for date night, and that's okay too. As long as that doesn't become the default pattern and becomes sort of the routine in the day-to-day, it's okay. Having the occasional sweet treat or a meal out will not completely destroy your progress. So instead of thinking of it in terms of being a mountain you have to climb for your weight loss journey, and you're climbing and clawing and trying to get to the peak and get to the summit, which is sort of your weight loss and health goals, think of it instead like driving a car. I think I've used this analogy before in previous videos, so you may have heard it before, but I think it bears repeating. So think of your weight loss journey as you're driving a car. You're in the driver's seat. You're in control. You're deciding where to go. Things will happen that are out of your control. There will be bumps on the road. There might be bad weather. You might end up in a detour somewhere, right? But as you go, you're continuing to drive. You're continuing to make your way to your destination. And when you hit these bumps, maybe it's just a little bump, a little blip, and then you just keep driving and you keep going and you make your way into a really healthy, really sustainable lifestyle change that will allow you to make progress towards your destination, progress towards your weight loss goals. Another thing I stopped doing is eating healthy foods mindlessly. So in the past, I used to consider certain foods healthful, and I would just go ahead and eat them and eat as much as I wanted and go for it and expect that I would lose weight thinking, oh, I'm eating something healthy. And so a couple of examples of this are, number one would be salad with a really thick, creamy, very calorie dense dressing, and just loading up on the dressing because I didn't like salad back in the day, so dressing was key. I'm still a lover of adding a lot of dressing to my salads or a nice sauce or something like that. But I was not aware or mindful of how many calories were being just loaded into my salad. So having a little bit more awareness, reading labels, and not going in for the marketing on the front of the package. A lot of times I would see something would say healthy or low fat or low calorie. And I'd be like, yeah, great, pat on the back, I'm going to eat that, without flipping the package, looking at the ingredients, looking at the nutrition facts, and paying a bit of attention to that. So I highly recommend reading labels. Just ignore the front of the packaging. It's all marketing. It's meant to entice you and make you buy the product. And sometimes the products are great, and that's fine. But make sure you're reading the back of the packaging just so you have that awareness of what you're consuming. Sometimes the serving size is half of a package or a third of a package, or it's a really small portion size, and you don't realize that unless you're actually paying attention to the label. So that is another really helpful tip. This actually also goes for foods that are healthy but are just more calorie dense. And if you're not aware of it, you can end up consuming something that is really healthful but very calorically dense and might not be in line with your weight loss efforts and might not be as filling as another option. A good example of this would be bars that are made out of just dried fruit, nuts, seeds, those kinds of things. Healthful food, absolutely nothing wrong with eating it, but much more calorie dense, usually 200-ish plus calories, and you could eat something else instead. So it's just about building up that awareness and paying attention to it. Another thing I stopped doing along the way on my weight loss journey, and this is something that I still practice and still am working on after years and years and years and years of beating myself up and being unkind to myself, that I stopped poking and prodding and examining myself for flaws and complaining and commiserating with my girlfriends about I'm so fat, or I don't like XYZ, this part of my body, this and that and the other. We are conditioned through the media that this is normal and this is how women behave. And this is how we connect with other women, to be self-deprecating and to speak about ourselves negatively, and then have the friend sort of reassure you that you're beautiful and lovely and all these things. And I like to sort of flip that around and say, how would I speak to a great friend of mine? How would I speak to a loved one? Would I ever point out, pick their flaws, pick out these things that aren't perfect? Like, it's uncomfortable for me to even say, because I would never look at a friend of mine or even a stranger and just pick them apart and this is wrong and that is wrong. So why do we do it to ourselves? And this takes a long time to unlearn, and it takes a lot of practice, but you're really fostering self-acceptance and self-love and looking at yourself from a new perspective and looking at yourself in a new way. Another way that I like to look at this is, how do men look at themselves and perceive themselves? Obviously, I'm generalizing here. This is not all men. I mean, some are going to be more concerned with their muscle size or fat percentage or things like this. But overall, I think I can safely say that men are not standing in front of the mirror picking themselves apart or complaining to their buddy. They're not commiserating and communicating in that way. And it seems a little ridiculous that they even would. So if they're not doing that, why are we? And it has to do a lot with the patriarchy and the pressures that we are under, more specifically as women, to look a certain way, behave a certain way, do things a certain way. So when we can take a step back and examine that and just look at it from a different perspective, it can really make a dramatic change in the way that you look at yourself and the way that you accept yourself. And looking into body neutrality and looking into body positivity and separating your self-worth from the way that you look. Really, really important. I have a couple of other videos I recommend watching if you want a deeper dive into this. I have a video discussing my loose skin and scars and stress marks, stuff like that, and also a body image video. So I'll link both of those below if you want more on this topic. Another thing I stopped doing, and this is related to my previous point, is anxiety around the number on the scale and around my dress size. In the past, I was very upset about the number on the scale, very upset about my dress size. And it's okay to want to make changes and want to see the number on the scale change or to see your dress size change. But I think obsessing so much over those couple of factors is really damaging. And the scale is just one tool of many to measure your progress. And I would argue that it's not the most important or the most accurate tool to measure your progress. So if you're engaging in really healthy behaviors and you're feeling good, you're feeling well, you're feeling healthy, you're feeling energetic, you can do all the things you want to do, and you're continuing to engage in healthy behaviors, that is way more important than the number on the scale. The number on the scale might shift along with those changes, but health is really the number one priority, bottom line. And if health really is the most important thing, does my dress size or does the scale tell me my health status? An interesting question. I think people have different responses to this question. My perspective is that if you're in an obese category, then that might give you an indication that you're a higher risk of certain diseases, certain issues. However, if you are obese and you are engaging in really healthful behaviors and you're continuing to do these healthy things, eat healthy foods, and move your body and manage stress and get good sleep, you might be in a much healthier state than someone who is in a smaller body but is not engaging in healthy behaviors. You can't just look at someone and say, hey, that person's healthy, or hey, that person's not. Because looking at the size or shape of someone doesn't tell you anything about what their habits are or what they're doing. And I always recognized that outwardly to the world, but I never turned that on to myself, oddly enough. So once I was able to do that and turn that kindness and that understanding back to myself, I was actually able to maintain my healthier habits because I wasn't as desperate to see the number on the scale change. I wasn't as stressed and aggravated by that. I just continued along with the healthy habits, and gradually I lost the weight. The other thing I'll mention about dress sizes is that dress sizes are wild. They are bananas. They are all over the place, from shop to shop. Even within the same store, I have been in certain shops where I can fit into 3 different sizes depending on the style and depending on how it's cut. And so there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with grabbing a larger size if you need it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've gained weight or that you're not making progress. Clothing sizes are just all over the map. So do not have your dress size be a mood indicator. Don't allow it to upset you or put you in a bad mood. Wear clothing that feels comfortable, that fits you, and that you feel good in. Another thing I let go of is perfectionism and that all or nothing, 0 or 100 mindset. And it's hard to get out of because I was in it for so long. That drove me nuts, and it was not healthy. It was not good for me on any level. If I was going 100% and going all out, yeah, maybe I lost a little bit of weight initially, but I would absolutely burn myself out. I would not feel well, and then I would revert back to old habits. And it just did not work for me at all. I would be so focused on getting things perfect and getting things optimized and doing what is the healthiest or doing what is, the best, that I wouldn't consider where I was coming from and what actually fit into my lifestyle and what made sense for me in different stages along the way. And my diet and lifestyle has changed and shifted a lot over time, and it's okay to make changes along the way. I've been eating a plant-based diet for 7 years, and that has looked very different in different stages, and that's okay. I used to feel like I had to either do it all or it wasn't worth doing anything. And so I would over-exercise, I would over-restrict, I would just do too much. And sometimes doing less is better because it's more sustainable, it's easier to build habits and celebrate the wins and pat yourself on the back and develop consistency and stick with it long term to really see those results. Take a deep breath, have a plan, be consistent, and continue to do the best you can. Perfection doesn't exist. So focus on your day-to-day or, setting yourself up for the week, doing a nice meal prep or scheduling in time for making your meals or for moving your body or managing your stress and doing what you can as you can along the way to manage your health and your weight loss in a really healthy way. Another thing I let go of is the thought that my body hates me, I can never lose weight. It's so hard to lose weight. And I mentioned this a little bit with sort of the misery of the whole thing and thinking that it had to be difficult. And this is even more specific to myself and my own belief that I could even do it, or that I was even capable, or that I could even make it work, or that my body would cooperate. And I think trusting the process and continuing to build on the habits and build on the wins and really celebrate any successes that come, any wins that are happening. And then if there does happen to be a stall or maybe a plateau or something like that, instead of thinking, I'm doing everything right, what's wrong, getting all wound up and stressed and overwhelmed, trying to take a step back and examine what's changed. Am I doing anything differently now than I was doing before? Have I been tracking what I'm doing? Or did I kind of let go of tracking and I've gotten into different habits or different patterns? Maybe it would be useful to track again for a little bit to see what I'm actually doing, what I'm actually taking in. Am I being as mindful of my consumption and my movement and these healthy lifestyle factors as I think I am? Because sometimes we think we're doing everything right, but then we kind of get curious and look into it and dig a little deeper. There are things we can change and things that we can adjust and tweak to get things going again. And do it in a really kind to yourself and healthy way. Sometimes it's just a matter of being patient and letting your body readjust and do its thing. And your body is really smart. Most of the time, it is trying to protect you and it is trying to keep you in homeostasis and keep things steady and stable. And it's working for you. And so if you give it the right input, most of the time it will, barring any other health consideration or another issue, it will give you health back. It will give you the weight loss that you seek and the health outcomes that you're looking for. This isn't to discount medication or anything like that. If you have health issues, food and lifestyle factors are not the only tools in the toolbox. They're not the only thing. But overall, eating in a more healthful way and getting into a more healthy lifestyle and a healthy mindset can be really helpful in having you achieve your health and weight loss goals. I know it's helped me so much. So you can do this, you can figure it out, and it might not always feel easy or straightforward, but try to keep it as simple as possible. Try to make it fun. Try to make it enjoyable. Connect with other people online who are doing what you're doing. If there aren't people in your home or in your life, in real life, that are doing these things, connect with me here on the channel in the comments section. I love to interact with you here, or reach out for one-on-one coaching if you're looking into that. Look into other communities online that are providing information and tips and personal experience that might be helpful to you and that you can take information from, and really pull the pieces from different experts and different professionals and different individuals of what resonates with you and what you think will work well for you. And take it one day at a time. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. And I hope that these tips and things I stopped doing and what I started doing instead were helpful to you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel below if you haven't already. I've noticed that quite a few viewers are not subscribed, surprisingly. So I'd love if you join in on subscribing. It's free. And we have a lot of fun in the comments section. I'm planning on being more active in the community tab and getting back into my social media. Things were a little off for a little bit, but I'm planning on getting back to that and sharing more recipes, sharing more tips, and all that good stuff. So let me know what else you'd like to see on the channel. My next video will be a weird things that I do to improve my life. I did a similar video and it was fairly popular, and I thought of more weird things that improve my life and bring me joy. So I will be sharing that in my next video, so stay tuned for that. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!